Thank you for joining us for 4-H Coding Project Meeting. This is a sped up version of Session 1 for those of you who missed it. We highly suggest having two screens, one screen to watch this video and another screen to access the programming platform. During the video, I have indicated good stopping points with this slide here. Hi everyone, my name is Ami Lin, K-State Research and Extension 4-H agent for Johnson County, and today we are going to recap the 4-H coding project meeting that we had last week. This is going to be a quick version for those of you who missed our first session. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen at this time. And here we go. So when we're talking about coding, you are giving instructions for some kind of a machine. It can be a computer, it can be a robot, but you're writing the instructions. And the process of creating these sequence of instructions is called programming. So today you are going to be a programmer. We're going to use something simple. It's a very simplified language of coding, which is going to be called block programming. But you might have heard about the different types of programming languages that are out there. And there's so many of them. There's everything from HTML, Python, JavaScript, SQL, C++, C#, and the newest, some of the newer language includes Go and Swift, which is a mobile language for Apple and Android platform, which is getting more and more popular. And you know what, to be honest, I'm not an expert in programming, but we are going to learn the basics of how to think like a programmer. But before we really do jump in, I do want to go over, like I said, we are going to be looking at some of the ways of thinking. So through this program, you are going to be developing your thinking, what we call computational thinking specifically. So some of the things that a programmer has to do to think is going to be to think logically. And these are 4 skills that you're going to be incorporating into your work as you program. So the first one being decomposition. So decomposition is taking a big idea and breaking it down into smaller pieces. And that's something a programmer really has to do every single time that they program. So when you think about, I want to code a game, that's your end goal, but it's such a big goal. How do we find the different pieces, the different problems that needs to be solved along the way in order to make that, to get to that goal, right? So that is decomposition. The second thing you should be able to do is pattern recognition. And it's to look for similarities and find some trends, because when you're coding, you're trying to find the simplest way to give instructions to your computer. And if something is on repeat, you want to use that pattern in order to make your code simpler, not just for yourself, but for others that might go in and help you with your project. When you think about a really large coding project, a lot of the times it's a team of developers that work together. It's not just your own work. So being able to simplify your code so that others can help you along the way is going to be crucial. And that starts with pattern recognition. The third idea and the process of thinking that we want to develop is called abstraction. So focusing on something that's important. So abstraction really is about thinking about all the pieces of the puzzle and making sure that you address the most important pieces first. So for example, when you're thinking about your game, you might want to think about the costumes or the way that the sword is going to look. But at the end of the day, is that really the most important piece of the puzzle or your game? Probably not. It's probably more important to consider how you move your character, or what are some of the pieces that are going to provide give you points. And those are the piece, that's the skill called abstraction that you need to develop as you code. And last but not least, when you are creating the step-by-step instructions for how to write your game, it's called algorithmic design. And that's going to be utilized throughout these sessions. Every single session, you're going to be utilizing algorithmic design in order to create these instructions for your machine, your computer, your game. And before we jump into creating your game, one thing to kind of keep in mind is that you need to be a digital citizen. So what does that mean? We are going to use a platform called Scratch that was created by MIT, and it's on the internet. So as with anything on the internet, you have to be careful of what kind of information you're providing and be a smart consumer of the information that's available online. So as you create your profile, create your games, always make sure that you are getting permission from your parents, number one, and then avoid posting sensitive or personal information. I usually like to pick an adjective and an animal, and then potentially some numbers to make my username so that it doesn't reveal anything about myself. And you want to make sure that you're not talking about your school, you're not talking about your location in any way. Make sure that you are treating others as you would like to be treated. That's just common sense, right? You are responsible, respectful for others, and make sure that you are modeling that even on the digital community. And last but not least, don't believe everything you see on the internet. Do your research, be a smart citizen, and look at multiple different areas for information whenever you see something. So here is your very first step. Again, let's make sure that we are thinking about privacy and safety. Don't use your real name, school name, or contact information, but you are going to be creating an account. When you click on the link or you go to the web address, you're going to see a screen that looks like this, 2020-21 4-H coding. Go ahead and get started. This is me. So I am going to create a username. There we go. So then go ahead and include your birth month and year, your gender, and what country you're from. And you have created your own account. Once you're in your account, you will see a screen that looks like this. So the class is called 2020-21 4-H coding. There are 2 studios or areas where you could share your project, and there are a total of 9 students. If you see all the words with the silly penguin, silly seahorse, silly panda, that is all my accounts that I created. So let's go ahead and jump in and get started. So you will go ahead and start off by going to create. And once you create, click create, you will see the basic platform of Scratch. And it does take a little bit to go ahead and get in. Here is the platform. So you are now here on the basic programming screen. So let's go ahead and learn the different pieces of the screen. First things first, you have your programming area right in the middle. You can drag any of these blocks that indicates a piece of code into the programming area. So let's go ahead and say move 10 steps. Along the side, you have the different tabs for the different types of code that you are trying to incorporate. So for example, if I want my cat to move 10 steps, whenever I press the green flag. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a events block when green flag is clicked and then attach it to move 10 steps. So now the code that I just put in indicates that whenever I press this green flag over here, this cat on the side is going to move 10 steps. So let's go ahead and see that. Perfect. That is 10 steps. If I want my cat to move further, what would we have to do? Exactly. So we would have to put a bigger number in here. So whenever it's white, you can change that into something else. Let's say 100 steps, and let's see where that goes. So I'm going to now click the green flag, and there you go. Your cat moved a lot further. In order to move the cat back, you can either just drag it right back to the middle, or if one way is to go ahead and press type in the x-axis 0, y-axis is 0. And I'll explain what that means later on. But this indicates where your sprite is. And that is something that I didn't explain. So sprite are your characters or the different blocks that you're trying to move around. So in this case, your sprite is the cat here. You could add more sprites down here with this add sprite button. And then down here, you have the choose backdrop button. So if I want to give my cat a different background, I could go ahead and look through some of these choices and add a background. Let's say I'm going to add blue sky. Just like that. If I want to remove any of the pieces of the blocks, I just click and drag anywhere on these the tabs and it just kind of disappears. So that is how you remove it. There are some other tabs up here for costumes. If you want to make your cat have different forms, or if you want to put clothes on them. I had one of our 4-Hers do that earlier, or you could go ahead and record sounds as well. But I'm going to give you your first challenge. Your first challenge is going to be this. Go ahead and code. Whenever I press the green flag, I want this cat to say hello world and meow. And then I want them to move 10 steps to the right and then 10 steps to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and ask you to pause this video and give it a try, and I'll go ahead and explain the answer after you try it out. So good luck. All right, 4-Hers, I hope you had a chance to go ahead and investigate and make your cat do say hello world, meow, and then move to the right and then move to the left. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing I asked was to say hello world. So that could be done in one of two ways. One way is to go ahead and go to looks and say hello. But instead of just saying hello, I wanted to say hello world for 2 seconds. And if I and one thing I like to do when I'm programming is to test out each line of code. Every single time I add something, I try it out to see where that goes. So here, I'm going to try out hello world. Perfect. My cat says hello world. The other way that you might have done it is by actually going to sound and move in the play sound meow until done. So, but one thing is, I said hello world. I didn't want it to meow. So if you go ahead and click on this caret, it gives you an option to actually record. So when I press record, it will ask you to go ahead and use your microphone. I'm going to allow it. And you see here along the left-hand side that whenever I speak, the green bars go up. It indicates that your mic is catching your voice. So I'm going to record the words hello world. Hello world. And here is the audio. And you could tell that in the beginning, it's really, really thin. This purple line is really thin, and then it rises. That indicates where you started to actually talk. So I'm going to go ahead and just move these red bars to choose the area that I want. Just record, press play. Hello world. That's exactly what I want to hear. So I'm going to save this. And here's my audio clip. I'm going to save this as not as recording 1, but hello world, so that I could remember what this indicates. Now I'm in the sound tab, but I need to go back to my programming area. So I'm going to go back to the code. Now, if I go to play sound meow and click on the caret, I have a hello world option. So now if I press the green flag, it will hello world. Say hello world, which is perfect. The next thing was I want this cat to meow. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull in a meow. Oops, meow, there we go. So when green flag is clicked, the play sound hello world until done. And then it's going to play the next line of code, which is going to be play sound meow until done. Once it's done meowing, then I need this cat to move to the right. So I'm going to go to the motion tab, and let's go ahead and move in a move 10 steps. But I wanted to move, make a pretty dramatic move. So instead of just 10 steps, I'm going to put 100 steps. And again, I'm going to try one step at a time. So let's go ahead and play this. Hello, world. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to do. Now I needed to move this cat to move to the left. So I'm going to go ahead and move, bring in another move 10 steps. But instead of 10, again, I want it to be 100 step because I want it to be dramatic. But let's go ahead and think for a second. When I have move 100 steps, it moves to the right. So if I add another move to the 100, it would just move to 100. That's not what I want. I want this cat to move to the left. So in order to do that, you need to think about your math class. In your math class, you might have learned that moving on a number line, moving to the right is the positive, and then moving along to the left is going to be negative. And Scratch utilizes that logic. So in order to move to the left, this needs to be move 100 steps negative, or negative 100 steps. I'm going to put a negative sign in here and move the cat back and press the green flag, and let's see what it does. Hello, world. It didn't quite move. And you know what? It is because, let's think about it. If it moves 100 steps and moves back, it equals 0. So the cat didn't move. And this is a piece of the puzzle called debugging. Sometimes you put in your code, it doesn't do what you need it to do. And you need to look through your code and see, think about, okay, so what's happening here? What do I need to fix? And the reason why it didn't move is because positive 100 and negative 100 zeros out. And your cat doesn't move. So what I need to actually do is go ahead and put in a wait block. So let's see where that might be. Here we go. Let's say I want this cat, after it moves 100 steps to the right, I want it to wait 1 second and then move negative 100 steps. So let's do that. Press go. Hello, world. Perfect. Exactly what I wanted to do. If I wanted to move back a lot quicker, I could change this to 0.5 seconds or 0.1 second. And you could get smaller from that or larger depending on what you are looking for. But let's play this one more time. Perfect. So this is kind of the basics of programming. Now let's go ahead and jump into what you actually wanted to come and do, which is to program your own game. I'm actually going to go ahead and share a different screen, so bear with me. All right. The next step, now that you know kind of the basics, right, is going to be to code your own game. This game is going to be called the chase game. This cat is going to have to chase this star. And some of the pieces of this game, the player will be able to move the cat. I need to be able to use the arrow keys in order to move the cat so that it could chase after the star. The star is going to have to move randomly. And I'm going to manipulate the cat in order for the cat to chase after the star. Whenever this is a game. So whenever the cat is touching the star, I want this, the player, to gain some points. So on the top left-hand side, you can see the word score, and I want the score to go up whenever it is touching the star. Sounds easy? Let's go ahead and get started. So before we continue, we need to understand some basic math. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but in math class, you might have heard of something called the coordinate plane. And on the coordinate plane, it reminds you of a number line where the middle is 0. To the right is all of the positive numbers, and it goes up from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. And then if you go down to the, or if you go to the left, it's the negative numbers, negative 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So this here is actually called the x-axis. If I want to move to the right, it's going to be a positive number. If I want to move to the left, it's going to be a negative number. The larger the number, the larger movement it's going to make. So if I want my cat to move up, it's not the x-axis that I need to manipulate. I need to manipulate the y-axis. If I want my cat to move up, would it be a positive or a negative number? Exactly. So it needs to be a positive number if I want my cat to move up, positive number on the y-axis. If I want my cat to move down, it needs to be a negative number on the y-axis. So understanding these, the coordinate plane, I want you to go ahead and give this challenge a try. So the challenge is this: code your cat to move right when I press not the green flag, but the right arrow. And here's your hint. You need to use a yellow events block and a blue motion block. So this is your chance. Go ahead and pause the video and give that a try. All right, so I hope you got a chance to go ahead and try to move, to program your cat to move to the right when I press the right arrow key. So the answer is this: if I go to my events block, I need to find not the green, when green flag is clicked, I need to find the block for when the space key is pressed. Obviously, I don't want the space key. I want the right arrow. So again, this caret allows me to choose between different options. And here's the option for right arrow key is pressed. And then I'm going to go ahead and go back or go to motion tab. And I want this cat to go ahead and move to the right. And there's two options. One option is to move 10 steps, but 10 step is always going to be along the x-axis only. But later on, what I want you to do is be able to move your cat up and down as well. So there's a better option than move 10 steps. And if I go down, it is the button for change X by. So I'm going to drag this because, again, moving left and right is the x-axis. I'm looking for the one that says change X. Be careful because there is another option for set X to, which is a little bit different. So we want the change X by, and I'm going to go ahead and put 100 for this, just so that it moves, it makes a more dramatic move when I do that. And I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. So now when I press the right arrow, it's going to move to the right. Perfect. So your next challenge is going to be this. So here is your next challenge. Like I kind of mentioned earlier, I want this cat to be able to be controlled by the player. And utilizing the 4 arrow keys, I want the player to be able to move the cat. And I'm actually going to ask, instead of making it 100 steps, keep it at 10 steps so that the cat is able to move a little smoother. But whenever I press the up arrow, I want this cat to move up. Whenever I press the down arrow, I want this cat to move down. Whenever I press the left arrow, I want this cat to move left. And obviously, whenever I press the right arrow, I want this cat to move to the right. So let's go ahead and give this a try. Pause the video and code your cat. Good luck. All right, so I hope you had a chance to go ahead and code. Here is my solution. So as you can see in the middle, I have programmed my cat, and I'm actually going to go ahead and move my cat, my sprite back to 0, 0, right back in the middle. Press enter and it goes back to middle of the screen. So let's test this out. Oops, this should be 10. So whenever I press the right arrow, my cat needs to move to the right. Perfect. Whenever I press the left arrow, it needs to move to the left. Perfect. And whenever I press the up arrow, I want it to move up. And whenever I press the down arrow, I want it to move down. Wait a minute. It didn't do what it needs to do. So that means that I need to do some debugging. So remember, debugging is to look at your code and see where that error might be. So in this situation, because the mistake was on the, or it didn't, my cat, and here's the thing, it's not really a mistake, right? Because it did what it was supposed to. It was just not what I intended my cat to do. So I'm going to go ahead and go to take a look at the down arrow button. When the down arrow button is pressed, change the Y by 10. I know, it's because this needs to be a negative. So if you think back to the X and Y the coordinate plane, X is going to be the horizontal, moving to the right is positive, moving to the left is negative. And then moving up and down is controlled by the y-axis. Moving up is positive and moving down is negative. So this needs to be a negative number. Another thing you might have noticed is that how I have kind of laid out my programming area. This made the most sense to me, to have the instructions for the right on the right side, instructions to the left on the left side, up on the top, and bottom down on the bottom. So when you're programming, this does where the program is located does not matter. What order it is, if it's not touching one another, it doesn't matter. So it could be that I have the instructions for the left arrow on the right side and the instructions for the right arrow on the left side. It kind of messes with my thinking, but the buttons will still do exactly what it needs to do, because it just follows the order that follows the instructions that you give this sprite. So now that my cat is able to do what it needs to, let's go ahead and think of the next step that I need to address. So one of the things that I needed you to do was to be able to control the cat, and this is done. Step 2 is I need a star or another sprite that's going to be able to move around randomly so I could chase after it. So if you think back to the programming screen, on the bottom right is going to be to choose a sprite. I'm going to choose a sprite, and I am going to search specifically for a star. I'm going to choose this star here. Perfect. So this star, as you can see, has nothing in the programming area. I haven't given this star any kind of instructions. I've given instructions for the cat, but not for the star. So that's something to kind of keep in mind, that whenever you're programming each item or each sprite at a time, and you need to kind of keep your head straight as to what you're trying to manipulate. So right now, I want to be able to select the star because the star is what I'm trying to program right now. I want it to move around randomly. So the star is going to be able to move around randomly whenever I press the green flag. The green flag is going to indicate the start of the game. So knowing that, I need an events block when the green flag is pressed. And if I need the star to move around, which one of these tabs would I need to go to? Exactly. We need to go to the motion tab and find. I could technically just select a random set of move blocks and just drag it in there, but that's not the most effective. There's an option for glide 1 second to a random position. And let's see what that does. So I'm going to place that in here, press the green flag. Exactly what I needed to do. But it stops after it moves for a second. So I wanted to continue to do this motion to glide 1 second to a random position. So if I just wanted to continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, there is this nifty button called the forever control block. And I'm going to place this right under the green flag. And I'm going to place the glide button right inside. So now when the green flag is pressed, it's going to do whatever is in this section over and over and over. In this case, it's going, the star is going to glide to a random position every second. So let's try that. Green flag. Perfect. The star moves around. So you know what? I want to see what it does if I change this number to 5 seconds. So think for a second. What do you think will happen? It's going to glide for 5 seconds to a random location. Okay. Is it going to move faster or slower? Let me just test it out. It moves much slower. But since it's a game, I want it to move a little faster. I am actually going to make it 0.5 seconds. And perfect. The flag or the star moves so much faster when the time here is a lot smaller. So I'm going to stop this. And that is how we make the star move. So what are we now missing? Exactly. So we need to keep score. It's a game after all, right? So what we need to do is go back to selecting the cat, because whenever the cat does something, it's going to keep score. So I'm going to go back to the cat and I'm going to go to the variable button. Variable is just like it sounds. You create a new kind of a counter. So I'm going to go to make variable, and this variable is going to be called score, and press OK. So now I want to, whenever I press the green flag, I want my score to be set to 0. So first I need to find a green flag here, and I need more space. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And so whenever the green flag is clicked, I want to set my variable, my score, I'm going to drop down to score to 0. So you can see here that the score is now 0. That's exactly what I want to see. So whenever I press the green flag, the score is going to reset. It's going to go back to 0. And but I want the score to change. So instead of my variable, my score to change by 1 whenever it does something. So when you think about programming, there is an option for if and then statements. So if my cat touches the star, I want the score to go up by 1. So let me go ahead and find that if and then statement. So if blank then. So change score by. So if the cat touches the star, then change the score by 1. That's the instructions that I'm looking for. So if, and we need to go into the sensing block, and there's a button called touching mouse pointer. I'm going to drag it into this empty space here. So if touching mouse pointer, that's not what I want, so I'm going to change it to if touching star, then change the score by 1. That's exactly what I want, but I want this to continue forever, right? I don't want it to stop once this cat touches the star once. I want it to continue forever. So I'm going to drag a forever block, place the if and then statement inside of the forever block, and this should do what I needed to do. So I'm going to press the green flag and test it out. When I press the green flag, the star should move around and the score should reset to 0. Perfect. And you could see that whenever the cat is touching the star, the score continues to go up. And if I press the right arrow, left arrow, up arrow, down arrow, the cat should be able to chase after this star. I'm going to stop the game, press the green flag, and what should it do? Exactly. The cat should go, or the score should reset to 0. Perfect. This is exactly what I want. So, right, In the last few minutes, you have learned the basics of creating a simple chase game. But the best part of coding is to really mix it up, to make it your own. So here is your challenge. Change the characters, change the background, do something a little bit different to make this game your own. Once you have done that, what I'm going to have you do is go ahead and share this project. So spend some time, go ahead and changing the background, changing the character, doing something a little bit different to make it interesting. And once you're done with the project, you're going to press share. And you'll see the screen right here. I am going to title this The Chase Game. Oops, I don't know why I put camp. The Chase Game. And I'm going to add to studio. Just down here, I'm going to press that button. And this is a chase game. So I'm going to press the plus to adding it to the chase game and OK. So what does that mean? I just shared it. So if I go ahead and go to my class, oops, and you won't see this part, but remember when you were on your own class page, your account page, you had an option to go ahead and see your studios. So the studios, now if I go to the chasing game, you should be able to see everyone's game that people have created. So here's an interesting one, Catch Frank. So let me go ahead and go to Catch Frank. And press the green button. So you can see that this is this is similar to what we created, but just a little bit different, right? And I wonder what the code is that makes the score continue to go up. This programmer didn't give us any instructions or notes or credits, but I'm going to leave a positive comment. Oops. Great work. I like the background. I like how the background matches the characters. And post. Remember, you want to be respectful online, and if you are leaving a comment for someone, make sure that it is positive. But one of the other buttons that I would suggest you check out is the See Inside button, and it allows you to see what kind of program or what kind of code they have behind the scenes. So if I click on the elf, look at this. You should be able to move the elf the same way that we moved the cat in our program. But I do see that they did change up the score button a little bit here, and then the goblin. So I think it's still a work in progress, but this is great work. So you should be able to see other people's work through that studio button, and those would all be 4-Hers that have taken the same class. And I'm going to now stop it. So let's see. Like I said, at this time, it's your opportunity to go ahead and make this game your own. Go ahead and test the code and explore. How do you change the background? How do we add words? Is it possible to change the characters? How can I make it a little more interesting and make it your own? So this is the end of today's session. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing some of your projects shared online. And I'll see you next time. Bye.